Hi, I'm Nathan Sekinger, the librarian at Gale Middle School, and today I get to talk to you about one of my favorite things, and that's the season of fall. I think fall has certain smells. You can certainly feel it in the weather right now, and of course one of the best things about fall is pumpkins. We're going to work today to make one of these, kind of an indoor pumpkin maybe. So hopefully you have those pumpkins outside your house that you're carving and having fun decorating, and now we're going to make one for inside. So before we talk about building a pumpkin, let's talk a little bit about books that have pumpkins in them. There are so many great ones. Let me just show a few that we have at home with some of our younger readers. Pete the Cat, Five Little Pumpkins is a great one to get started with, a great counting book. Pumpkin Trouble is just so funny. And for our early readers, Owl Diaries, Trip to the Pumpkin Farm. One of my readers here at home reminded me to tell everyone that I am borrowing this one from her. So thank you for that loan. For our older students, middle and high school, the book Pumpkinheads is a great read as well. And I'll post all those in this video. So let's get on to our making. So hopefully you're enjoying a great read and maybe you want to make one of these little pumpkins too. It's pretty simple. It does take a few steps and we'll go through that process right now. You will need a piece of paper, a pair of scissors, and a marker. Now, if you've never made something for origami before, you might not know that most origami projects use square paper. But if you only have rectangular or even line paper at home, that's okay. One of the first things that we're going to do with this project is transform this rectangle into a square. And we can do it in one easy step with our first fold. So we're going to take our paper and we're going to fold it at a diagonal the long way. And line it up first. You want to line up that edge and do your folds. And I always do my fold twice. The second time, once I know I have it in the right place, I'm going to go back through and press down nice and firm. So it's smooth and it lays flat. Now all I have to do is take my scissors and cut off that excess piece. Now this is important. Once we have a square, we can start our project. Now remember, if I go too fast for you for any of these steps, of course you know that you can just go back and watch this video again or pause it at certain moments to see how I fold things. You can see we have a square paper and we have our first fold on a diagonal. We're going to do another fold now on the opposite diagonal. So bring your opposite corners together and again, make sure you line it up and then slowly and gently make that fold and then come back again and press it down nice and firmly. You should see an X on your paper when you open it up. Both of my folds now have been on one side of the paper and I'm going to do one more fold the same way. I'm going to fold it in half. Okay, so in half, just like a book. I'm going to line that up and again, fold it nice and flat. Make sure it's a nice smooth fold and then open it up again. So you should see kind of an X pattern with a line right through the middle of it. Now there's a couple of tricky parts to this project here. I would call this an intermediate origami project and you'll find lots more online if you're looking for fun things to do at home that of course don't require too many craft materials, which is great. So let's go into our first tricky part. That's what they call a squash fold. So you're ready for it? We're going to take that fold we just did in half and we're going to kind of bring our paper together so those two parts come together, that middle line. Now as we do that, our paper wants to follow us and we are going to keep that triangle we're making down on the table and then just kind of fold it over. And then here's the squash part. We're going to squash it down nice and flat. So if you saw that, we took our square paper, we brought our middle lines together till they touched, and we brought it down flat on our table, and then we just squashed it nice and smooth. So that's our squash fold. Hopefully that wasn't too tricky. That was our first tricky step, and hopefully you're still following along. Our next step is a little bit easier. Now we have our nice triangle. It's open at the bottom and pointy at the top. And I'm going to start folding in some of these flaps. So here we go. Here's flap number 1 that gets folded up. And again, make sure you have it in the right place and then go back and fold it nice and tight. Okay, flap number 2. Line it up, fold it smooth. You can probably guess where flaps 3 and 4 are coming in. You ready? We're going to flip it over. And here's flap number 3. And flap number 4. All right, so we took our large triangle and we made it into a smaller square. You'll notice it has these flaps at the top. It also has this gap running up and down or vertical here in the middle. My next step is going to be to turn this paper so that that line, that gap, is now horizontal, is now going across. If you feel your paper, you'll notice you've got flaps on the top and the bottom now. So we're going to fold those flaps in. So starting with the bottom, I'm going to fold it right to the middle of my square. Okay, my paper is getting thicker now. I'm using construction paper, so it has a little bit of thickness to it. Again, doesn't matter what kind of paper you're using. If your folds are nice and smooth and you're taking your time, it's going to come out really well. So there's 1 and 2. Again, flip it over to get 3 and 4. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to, I'll call this tricky step number 2, right? Here's our second tricky spot. And hopefully it's not too tricky for you. You'll notice that we have some flaps at the top. We don't have those flaps at the bottom, just at the top. So find the top of that. I'm going to point that away from me. And I'm going to do what I call the shirt collar fold, the shirt collar. So I'm going to fold this part out. And again, make sure it's nice and smooth. And we'll go out this way. This looks maybe like a vampire's collar. And for each of these fold outs, I'm now going to fold it in half. Okay, fold it in half so it matches that shape, And then fold back in on this one. Now here's the part that I think is a little tricky. We're going to tuck each of these collar folds in. So you ready? So when I kind of unfold this a little bit, you'll notice that this triangle that I folded last time has a little bit of a pocket. So I'm going to open this up a little, and then I'm going to tuck the collar in. Tuck my collar in, right? So there's one. We'll do it over here. And we'll tuck that in. And we're going to do the same thing with the other side, 3 and 4. Ready? We're going to do our collar. And tuck it in. And if you can't tell already, origami is great. It's great because it teaches patience and craft, and it's also a great lesson in geometry and space. All right, so we've got our pockets tucked in now on both sides. So that looks pretty good. That was tricky part number 2. So if you're still with us, you're doing really well, and we are close to the end. Congratulations. All right, so we've got our shape here. We have all these folds on the top and the bottom. We're going to hide those now by bringing those 2 parts together. Okay, and the same in the back. Okay, so see what we did? We took those folds and we just folded them together. Okay, make sure it's nice and smooth. Looks pretty good. Okay, now we have a clean side here and a nice clean side over here. Now, if you're making the pumpkin with me, this is a good time to notice which side. You'll notice here at the top of this, there's a peak. And one side doesn't have a hole, and one side does. There's a hole here. So take note of that. This is going to be the top, and so I'm going to point that away from me. This is when we're going to decorate our pumpkin. So grab your marker and take some time to decorate your pumpkin. So I'm going to add my eyes. And again, this is a good time to talk about shapes. We could add some triangles here. Maybe I'll make mine a cat. Ooh, how about a vampire cat? I'm gonna add some teeth. Ooh, there we go. All right, so I can take my time. I can decorate this however I want. Of course, this is going to be the front of my pumpkin, but I can also think about the back, and these are going to be the sides. So if you want to take your time decorating that, that is fantastic. Okay, we are ready for the next tricky step. This is step number 3. Okay, so you'll notice that there is a hole up top. Now, if you have a little straw, like a drinking straw, this might come in handy, but you don't really need it. What we're going to do is try and push some air into this hole right here. And so it's we're going to see how well this works for me right now. I'm going to try and open up this hole just a little bit, and I'm going to try and blow kind of a gust of air in here. You ready? And hopefully for you, you can see that you get a pumpkin at the end of this. It should be nice and curvy, right? It has like some round spots here. I like that. That's what I'm looking for. And we're only missing one step, the stem. So we've got our pumpkin and we've got our scrap paper here. I don't think we need this whole thing. Let's take about half of it. And I'm just going to start to do some slim folds. I'm just going to fold it up on itself over and over and over again. Until it has some thickness to it, and then I'm going to put a little kink in it. Okay, looks a little like a candy cane, but in this case it is our pumpkin stem, and I'm just going to stick it in right here. And there we go. We have our completed pumpkin, and of course we have our pumpkin books to go with it. Remember to check out Sora, our ebook platform, and contact your school libraries. They have lots of ways for you to check out library resources and pick them up at the school or at those nutrition bus stops where you can pick up lunch as well. I hope you enjoyed this project. I hope you're reading lots of great books this fall, and take care.